Justice League. Disappointing. The DC Cinematic Universe has released a few disappointing films, but fans still had their hopes up for an epic Justice League movie. It brought some of the most famous superheroes together, including Batman, Superman, Flash, Aquaman, Cyborg, and Wonder Woman. Zack Snyder directed the film and it was released on November 17, 2017. It's one of the most expensive movies ever made with a budget of roughly $300 million. However, it was a disappointment at the box office and was barely able to break even. It was criticized for having a weak plot and villain. However, Gal Gadot and Ezra Miller were both praised for their performances. It was also criticized for its overuse of CGI, although the action sequences were highly praised. Regardless, it didn't live up to the hype and expectations. The Mummy. Disappointing. Due to the success of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, every studio is now attempting to create its own universe. This year Universal Studios had grand plans for its Dark Universe, and the first film in the installment, The Mummy, was released on May 22, 2017 and starred Tom Cruise. The film quickly started to set up the universe with the introduction of Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, Russell Crowe, for a future film. However, the film was panned by critics and failed to find an audience. It holds a 16% rating on Rotten Tomatoes and performed poorly at the box office. The poor performance resulted in the studio postponing The Bride of Frankenstein, which was originally scheduled for a 2019 release. They wanted more work done on the script, but the Dark Universe's future is in jeopardy after the departure of director Alex Kurtzman and writer Chris Morgan. Baywatch. Disappointing. Baywatch was one of the most heavily promoted films of the year. It was positioned as the big summer blockbuster combining comedy, action, and beautiful people. It starred Dwayne Johnson, Alexandra Daddario, Zac Efron, Kelly Rohrbach, and Priyanka Chopra. It's based on the popular 90s television series Baywatch. The movie was released on May 25, 2017 and did poorly at the box office. It didn't end up as the box office success the studio had hoped it would be. It was met with overwhelming negative reviews. It holds an 18% rating on Rotten Tomatoes that noted it raised the jiggle factor to R-rated levels, but lacks the original's campy charm. All the intense promotion couldn't help the film become the summer hit it was meant to be. Dwayne Johnson defended the film on Twitter, noting they made it for the people who enjoyed it. The Emoji Movie. Disappointing. This year, there was a great deal of hype surrounding the animated film The Emoji Movie. The studio had hoped it would be the new Toy Story. It explored new territory with the emojis, and it had the potential to be a groundbreaking film. It was aimed at a younger audience, but the hope was that an older audience could also relate. It was released on July 28, 2017 and featured a stellar ensemble cast of T.J. Miller, Anna Faris, Maya Rudolph, James Corden, and Patrick Stewart. Despite all of that, it failed to find an audience and was heavily panned by critics. Critics called the movie a complete waste of time, corporate propaganda, and a soul-crushing disaster. It holds a 9% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. The LA Times said, "The Emoji Movie can be summed up in one word: meh." The Dark Tower. Disappointing. The Dark Tower had been stuck in development hell for years until finally seeing the light of day in 2017. However, it ended up disappointing fans and critics all over the world. It's based on the critically acclaimed novel series Stephen King's The Dark Tower. It was released on July 28, 2017 and starred Idris Elba and Matthew McConaughey. It was met with an overwhelming negative response from critics and was also a box office bomb. One critic called it a dull disappointment, although critics praised Elba and McConaughey. Dan Callahan of TheWrap said, "The 95-minute culmination of years-long efforts to bring The Dark Tower to the big screen is a complete disaster, a limp, barely coherent shell of a movie." Recently, there has been talk of rebooting the entire franchise as a television series. It says, The Lost City of Z, surprisingly good. A film doing poorly at the box office doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad movie. Some films might not be a big box office smash but still manage to connect with an audience. The Lost City of Z starred Charlie Hunnam, Robert Pattinson, and Sienna Miller. It first premiered at the New York Film Festival and made a few more festival appearances before its wide release. It was released on April 14, 2017 to positive reviews. However, it did poorly at the box office and failed to break even. Despite the poor performance, it has developed a cult following. It holds an 87% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, and The Hollywood Reporter called it a rare piece of contemporary classical cinema. Additionally, critics praised the cast's performance. In particular, they praised Hunnam's portrayal of British explorer Percy Fawcett. It says, Okja. Surprisingly good. There are now countless ways to view movies and TV shows. It's not all confined to movies theaters. Okja proved that there are other ways to reach a wide audience. Okja debuted at the Sundance Film Festival and had a bit of a rocky start. Due to technical errors, there was a mix of booing and applause at the start of the film. However, the critically acclaimed movie eventually won over the audience and at the end received a 4-minute standing ovation. It competed for the Palme d'Or at the festival that year. It starred Ahn Seo-yeon, Tilda Swinton, and Jake Gyllenhaal. It was released on June 28, 2017 on Netflix. It did not receive a wide release in theaters. It received positive reviews from critics and holds an 86% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. A Ghost Story. Surprisingly good. USA Today called the supernatural film A Ghost Story the best movie of 2017 that nobody saw. David Lowery directed A Ghost Story and it starred Casey Affleck and Rooney Mara. It debuted at the Sundance Film Festival and had everyone talking. It was released on July 7, 2017 to positive responses from audiences. It had a limited release, so it didn't end up being a big box office success. However, critics praised the film for its cinematography, cast, and directing. It has a 90% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Critics have given the film high praise, with Variety stating, while Lowery's actual method of delivery may not be scary, it's sure to haunt those who open themselves up to the experience. It won several awards at the 43rd Deauville Film Festival and the Sitges Film Festival. Baby Driver. Surprisingly good. A lot of movies try their best to be the summer hit of the year, but it can only go to one. Many critics and fans feel the true summer blockbuster of 2017 was the sleeper hit Baby Driver. It starred an exceptional cast of Ansel Elgort, Lily James, Jon Hamm, and Jamie Foxx. It was released on June 28, 2017 to rave reviews. It grossed more than expected at the box office and finished second its opening weekend. It has a 93% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, which described the film as proving fast-paced action movies can be smartly written without sacrificing thrills. Due to overwhelming positive response and enormous success at the box office, there is talk of a potential sequel. Elgort was nominated for Best Lead Actor at the Golden Globe Awards for his role. Girls Trip. Surprisingly good. There were many disappointing comedies this year, but the few good ones certainly made up for it. Girls Trip ended up being a surprise hit and exceeded expectations. It starred Regina Hall, Queen Latifah, Jada Pinkett Smith, and Tiffany Haddish. It was released on July 21, 2017 to positive responses from critics and audiences. Initially, it was predicted to make $20 million on opening weekend but shocked everyone when it made $30 million. It's considered one of the best R-rated comedies of the year. Additionally, the cast was praised for their memorable performances. It holds a 90% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, which described it, Girls Trip is the rare R-rated comedy that pushes boundaries to truly comedic effect, and anchors its laughs in compelling characters brought to life by a brilliantly assembled cast.